Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place to discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. If it's your first time listening, welcome. My name is Sahara. I am an author. I've been doing this podcast for about 3 years now. And really, my soul mission on this planet is to make the spiritual journey more relatable, accessible, easy, maybe even fun, if that's possible. And to show you that the things that you may think make you crazy, weird, different, are actually what make you magical. And this episode is really all about that. So I shared in episode 98, so that is an episode from July of 2018 called We Are the Witches You Tried to Burn. I shared a little bit about my story as a child, as about 10 years old. I was playing with my friends, and it led to me essentially reliving a witch execution, which I share again in this episode. So the witch archetype has been alive in me and many of you since the time we were children. We were just naturally so attracted to the magic, to seeing things, to feeling things, to being in touch with the elements. And most of us have suffered persecution in this lifetime, whether it is being called weird or crazy or maybe medicated or, in my case, physically abused. So because of that, we shut ourselves off from our magic. You know, if you ask most people, is magic real? People are like, no. But it is. It is real. And this is something that we really talk about on this episode with Mia Magik, who is the perfect person to discuss this. But magic is in everything. Magic is not just waving your wand and abracadabra and things open up. Magic is creating solutions when there weren't one before. It's seeing something from a new perspective that it becomes a miracle. It's having beautiful change of mindset on something that you were stuck on. It's seeing the grand trajectory of your life in a bigger way. It's manifesting something into reality. This is all magic. So in this episode, we really talk about what it is to embody that magic, especially in the witch archetype. Many of us, and we talk about why in this episode, are awakening to the witch within. I have seen this on Instagram. I've seen this on YouTube, etc. But many women are coming out there sharing that they are witches, that they, not only practice spells and potions and magic and all the things that we think about when we think of witches or drying their flowers, etc. But they're embodying the wise woman within. So this episode is really all about what it means to embody that witch archetype, to redefine that word. Most of us, when we think of a witch, we think of an evil person, satanic, devil. But Mia, who is a modern day witch, tells us why this came to be, why we even think of the word witch so negatively, and how the witch is actually the wise woman. We also talk about the sister wound, which I found very fascinating, and how a lot of the reason why women don't trust each other, compete against each other, are closed off to close relationships, which I talk about all the time. I created Rose Gold Goddesses, my Sacred Sisterhood collective, all about embodying the goddess within to eradicate this separation. But in this episode, Mia shares with us that that is related to the witch trials. So there has been witchery in every single culture, in every single country, and even today, people who are considered witches are still being persecuted. I watched a documentary on this, how it's taking place in many countries, and it's sad because it's making us afraid of our wisdom and our power. So in this episode, we dive deep into it. If you have, been curious about, I want to get witchy. I want to, make some magics, put out my crystals under the new moon and, make some bad vibe spray. Or maybe you're a full-on witch and you want to get deeper into it. Or maybe the word still has a lot of stigma to you and you're like, a witch? What? I'm not sure if I want to listen to this episode. This sounds weird. If your intuition is telling you to listen, then you are ready for it. So Mia is an incredible woman who embodies magic in everything that she does. She is a dear friend of mine who I've known for a couple years and has really stepped up into embodying the witch that she is. She walks everywhere with her big witch's hat. I've been in parking lots with her that kids have started crying. And she's on a mission to show that the witch is among us. The witch is in all of us. And the witch is beautiful. She is sacred. She is pure. She is good. She's bringing good magic to this world. And to change our connotation of that word and allow us to awaken to our own magic within. So without further ado, let's welcome Mia Magik to the Highest Self podcast. Oh my goddess, sister queen. I am so excited to share with you that Rose Gold Goddesses is officially open. We are accepting new members for the most high vibe community on the interwebs and in real life as well. What Rose Gold Goddesses is your sacred sisterhood collective. We have our very own app with all types of content to support you on your spiritual journey. From all of my masterclasses, I upload content specifically for Rose Gold Goddesses, from manifestation to launching a podcast to writing a book and everything in between to support you on your journey of becoming your highest self. There are thousands of like-minded women who are there to connect with you, whether you want to meet up for a cup of ceremonial cacao or talk about your dharma or whatever it is that you need support with at this time. Rose Gold Goddesses has got you. Consider it your spiritual gym membership with all things to support you on your journey of becoming your highest self. So you can come join us at rosegoldgoddesses.com. Again, that is rosegoldgoddesses.com, and we are so excited to welcome you in. You know when you open up a box and are in love? That is what happened when I opened up the kits from Anima Mundi Herbals. Their Sacred Heart Love Kit has my favorites, including Blue Lotus Tea, which enhances intuition, Mucuna, which enhances dopamine, Cacao, which opens the heart, ethically sourced Palo Santo Mist, and their Euphoria Elixir. It is divinity in a box and pairs perfectly with their coconut milk powder. I mean, Anima Mundi is literally my love language, and I know you are going to be obsessed with her stuff, which you can learn more about on episode 240 with the founder. She's gifted us a generous 20% off, which you can get at animamundiherbals.com with coupon code Sahara. That's animamundiherbals.com, ANIMAMUNDI herbals.com with coupon code Sahara. Welcome, Mia, to the Highest Self podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks, Queen. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to share your magic with you.
Yes. And the first question I'd love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
Ooh, just high off of your birthday the other night, sisterhood, magic, freedom, letting myself be myself, right? Like in our highest self, we're free from any of the blockages and limitations or any of the stories that keep us from expressing who we are or dancing as who we are, making love as who we are, or creating as who we are. And so what makes me my highest self is, just the magic of this life and aliveness itself, the elements and the play and the flowers and getting to just be. I really believe in magic and the sisterhood and like the coven and all the vibes that we get to share and play in together. That's what really lets me be my highest self.
And I feel like you're such a good example of someone who literally, you walk around in your witch hat, no shame. You're at like the grocery store, dogs are barking at you. You're like, yeah, I'm a witch. And you're so free in your expression. Like I was just telling you how you're just so vocal and you're like, and I'm just like, wow, like how does that, and you really are such a clear example of what can happen when you just bulldoze past those limiting expectations really from society, because more than just beliefs, they're not even our own beliefs. They're like our expectations of how we're supposed to interact in the public sphere. And then that translates to how we are in private. And we just become that same like suffocated person in private than we are in public. And then we just become disconnected from who you are. So you've bulldozed past those.
I mean, yes. And it's not like any of that was easy. It's taken so much work and trial and error and, losing friends and lots of tears. Bulldozing is probably a good way of describing it, because that's kind of what it's felt like. But it's been worth it, because now when I get to like what I just said, like being my highest self most of the time feels like sort of just my natural state.
And an energy that you have really connected to in your spiritual journey is the witch archetype. And it's something that I'm seeing so many women and myself awaken to.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because we've all grown up knowing what a witch is, but the connotation that we have of it is negative, evil, scary. That's why, like, we were in a parking lot together and like a kid started crying when they saw you in your witch hat, you know, because in all of our movies, et cetera, it's like the witch is evil, and you're really on this mission to show that like the witch is sacred. So can you talk a little bit about this witch archetype?
Totally. So originally, when all societies were matriarchal and goddess worshiping, before you could prove that you even needed a man to create a baby, right? We didn't know that there before science. It looked like a woman could just get pregnant by herself, right? And so all of these ancient societies, we knew, okay, women create life. So this all came from the goddess. And the word witch just means wise. So it was just the one with wisdom, or the wise woman, or the wise man or person of the tribe. It was the healer. Before we had CVS, like, you had herbs and the forest around you and prayer and drumming, and that was your medicine.
We even say witch doctor, but now we think of that as negative.
Yeah. And I mean, so yeah, we dive right in. The only reason that we think of it all as negative is because of the church, is because the church started telling everyone, like, thou shalt not suffer a witch, and that women were dangerous. And there was a book called The Witch's Hammer, published in I think 1200. And that was right as the printing press was coming out. Maybe it was 1400. And so this work was published all over Europe, and all of a sudden who women were, and who, like, the wise beings of any tribe, of any culture, of any community, who were serving the people and healing the people and delivering all of the babies, became this evil thing. And it's just totally an illusion, and it's just something that's been propagated, and the Bible's been mistranslated and misinterpreted so many times and rewritten and edited, and it's just become a thing that, because popular culture has been dominated by Christianity, it's become widely accepted that a witch is actually an evil thing, instead of a healer and a light worker and a servant of the goddess or the planet or humanity itself.
Isn't it crazy how so many empowering feminine roles have been reversed to be looked at as evil? I mean, even look at menstrual blood. You know, like menstrual blood, we think of it as a pain in the ass or dirty, or you can't even go into a temple when you're bleeding, when it used to be our most sacred and revered time. And I know that's a huge part of your mission to bring back the medicine and the wisdom of ourselves when we are bleeding.
Yeah. The reason why we sync up is such magic, because women used to all leave the tribe. It was like, this was our time. We would all bleed together, generally on the new moon, and we would leave the tribe when it was dark, and we would go and just be together and meditate and spend time as women, and really download all of the wisdom, connect to the earth. What does she have to say? Bleed on the earth, really just give our blood back to her. And, you know, that's even where the original word taboo comes from, is from menstrual blood. And the reason why we take the blood of Christ is because before we shifted the sex of God from female to male, women give blood freely. And so that's why we take the blood of Christ, even though now it's become this, he was cut, or it comes from him in this way. No, it's because originally it was the blood of the goddess, and that was the sacrament, because it was this blessing, because we knew that, like, when she stopped bleeding, she was creating life.
And there's a shamanic saying that the earth has always needed blood. And when women stopped giving their blood, that's when war began.
Oh, girl.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can feel that in my womb.
Yes. So It is so important for us, even, you know, if you have a little plant, like give it some blood, give it back to the earth. And this is all connected to that witch archetype, because, you know, the witch is really questioning our beliefs and our paradigms, and reshaping women to be their full, magical, wise selves. And sometimes that can be sexy. Sometimes that's not sexy. Sometimes it can be ugly. Like, sometimes it can be anything. So why do you think so many women are awakening to their inner witch now?
I think because of what the word really means, because it just means wisdom, right? We are being encouraged and motivated to reconnect to the earth because she's crying out for us, because she misses us having our bare feet upon her and caring for her and knowing that her body is our body. And so I think that women are just waking up to the wisdom, especially because, I mean, look at people like you, hundreds of thousands of people paying attention to what you have to say, and you're putting deep wisdom into the cookbook and deep wisdom out on this platform every single day. People have access to wisdom. People aren't just living in a small town where the church controls everything and that's how you get your information and that's who owns the newspaper or the TV station or the radio or whatever it is. You can choose what you want now. And I think that that is the main reason why women and witches and the wisdom is reawakening, is because people can finally make the choice for themselves. You're not forced to like listen to what your church or your pastor or even like your parents really all the time anymore at this point have to say about who you are and who you should be. And I think that we all, you know, you don't have to wear the pointy hat like I do. I love my pointy hat. You know, even today, as I was running errands, I met these two little girls and they like sat down with me and like had these whole beautiful conversations. And I was like, okay, you have to pinky swear that you'll always believe in magic, even if people tell you not to. And she's like,
Okay, I will. Like, I know some people don't believe. My nanny tells me that it's gross when I find feathers on the earth.
you know, it's just like, we've just been stripped from it. Even a little girl who finds a beautiful feather on the earth, her nanny says, oh, that's disgusting. Don't touch that. Like, that's not our wisdom. We came from the earth. We all come from the earth. And I think that people are just waking up to it because we're remembering like, oh, there's so much beauty. And like, oh, the ocean is the water, is the blood that's inside of me. And the earth is the mountains like my breasts. And oh, this fire is my drive and my purpose. And oh, I have the wind inside of me because I breathe every day. And we're just remembering that we are all of those elements and that the witch, it isn't any one thing. It isn't this evil. It doesn't mean you're cackling and flying on a broomstick. It just means that you're connected to the moon and to the cycles of nature, and that we all have, like moments of death and rebirth. And we have our seasons of winter. We have our seasons of summer where we're really creating. And I think it's just just a reflection of the awakening and the ascension of consciousness that's happening. If we're all really meant to be connected to our wisdom and we're earth beings, you know, like Heather is so galactic and totally into all of the Pleiadian and cosmic consciousness. And that is part of it as well. And I think it's an easier first step to really be here on this planet and start with the earth. And that's what witches always were, is like the earth mother and the sort of the voice of the goddess.
And I think so many women right now are awakening to herbology, and it might start with like wellness, and then it leads to like herbs and making tinctures. Like that is witchcraft. That's good witchcraft, guys. Like you are making spells and potions in there. That's why in my book, in Eat, Feel Fresh, I called the like tonic section potions. And my publisher's like, why are you calling them potions? I'm like, because they are. What else would they be? Yeah. You know, but there's again, such a just like, oh, a potion, like we think of it as evil. So I'd love to know, like, when did this like word or the witch, like how did it go so sour? Like you mentioned the church, and like, why is it today that we're so afraid of the witch archetype?
Oh, girl. Well, there's so many reasons. From my perspective, if you really go in, like deep into the history, and I always recommend reading the book Alphabet versus the Goddess. Like that book changed my life. I've read all the books about all the things.
Alphabet versus the Goddess.
The Alphabet versus the Goddess. Yeah, the subtext is how the sex of God was changed. Ooh. Yeah, and so that time like this, when there was no printing press, you could not propagate information in the way that you can now. And there were certain sects of monotheistic cultures when like almost everyone was polytheistic, right? Believed in a full pantheon of gods, multiple gods. Maybe it's, you know, the god of the grain and the god of the ocean or whatever. There was like different deities or higher dimensional beings that were ruling or supporting over specific things. And then when the church was able to start propagating things and really taking into action and murdering people, killing anyone who did not follow along with what they said or like was not willing to listen. I mean, if you look at archaeological records, almost all of the major churches in like, especially in Europe, are built on top of what was once a pagan temple. And you're talking about potions being witchcraft. so is every single thing that happens in a Christian ritual. Every single thing, the incense and like the blood of Christ and like receiving the body, like all of that is witchcraft, y'all, just so you know. Like, I can't wait for the day when like all the priests realize that they're doing witchcraft. Like, I'm just so excited for that. Yeah, but it just was a result of control. How can we control people? If women are sovereign and if they get to choose what they want and if they are able to utilize and wield energy in a way that is powerful and that can manifest things or create change and transformation, then we can't control them because they know that they can control themselves. And especially when like, I mean, you and I have both seen that, like when we watch you doing your twerking, like everyone is transfixed and enchanted because you are just in your body and you are running that sexual energy in a way that is empowering and beautiful. It's enchanting. And so if a man is enchanted by a woman, literally or figuratively, it also makes him hard to control because he sees this power. He sees like, oh, this is what I desire, right? Men like come out of the world from a pussy and spend the rest of their lives trying to get back into him, you know? And so I think that is really when it all happened. It was like, okay, how can we control people? Well, we have to strip the power from the people who hold it, which in that time was women, because you could only, same as like not being able to know that a man was involved. You could only prove lineage through a woman because she would have the baby. This is her child. So the land would be passed to that child because it belonged to her. So it was like, okay, these are the landowners and the doctors and the people that everyone goes to for wisdom or help or whatever. We need to strip those people of their power. We need to strip them of their land, of their titles, of their, you know, importance or status in the culture in order to then control those people. And that's what happened. And then there were a couple of pictures, like I said, right after the printing press was invented, there were a couple of like crazy pictures, which is where we get the original like pointy hat, the pointy nose, the wart, like all of this. They made this like one picture and we're like, this is a witch, this is a witch. And then just started putting out thousands of copies and no one had ever seen a picture recreated like that. It had never happened before. So it just went out fast and like took out like wildfire. And yeah, and if you didn't follow along or you didn't fall in line, you were killed. So it was a really easy way to create a very strong army of sheep.
Isn't that so crazy? It's like not even 1,000 years ago, that was the news. It was like, there's a witch, go and kill. If you see anyone that looks like this, if you see any girls out there in the woods gathering in circles, they are witches. And right before this podcast, you had mentioned that the early sisterhood wound comes from this. Yeah. And you shared with me some of where that came from. So can you share that with us?
Yeah. So this is, it's, you know, it's hard, it's challenging, but women were being either tortured or killed. And so if you are being tortured and the only thing that they want to know is like, who are the other witches or like, where are they? And the only thing you have is like your friends, your sisters, your cousins, like, and you're being tortured to the point where you can't do anything else except just like scream out her name. It's really hard to have friends because if you're going to betray your friends or they're going to betray you and it's only like a matter of life and death that happens. Yeah, it's, I mean, you know, what else would we be expected to do? I think anyone would break under that kind of pressure. And it's so heartbreaking because I think that, yeah, it seems to me that's some of the deep things that I've learned about, but that's where the original wound in the sisterhood came from. That's where we started being pitted and turned against one another and where it was like you had to compete. Who's more pious? Like who's more obedient to their husband? Because only those women would be likely to survive.
It's so sad because we see this, I think our generation right now is really the first that has come out of that. If we look at often our parents and grandparents, et cetera, they've totally been conditioned that way of like, don't be friends with that girl. She's a slut. She's bad news. Oh, she has a divorce. If you're friends with a divorced person, that's going to make you get a divorce or that's not going to look good for you. Like I remember my own mom would talk badly about like, you know, I stayed with my husband. I'm not the kind of woman that gets a divorce as if that's a type of woman, you know, and that comes from that witch wound of, again, being the pious, like good wife, and that's going to keep you safe.
Yeah. And, you know, it's, people don't talk about this ever, but this is something that came through for me, like in a deep meditation once, is that we don't even think about what that did to the masculine also. They're supposed to be our protectors, our brothers, our lovers, our husbands, our fathers, whatever. And and millions throughout the course of a couple of hundred years, millions of women being literally stripped from their homes or their fields or their husbands' beds or whatever the case may be, to be killed simply for, like you said, using the only thing that we had for medicine, which was herbs at the time, or talking to animals, or gathering in circles together. And I mean, can you imagine like what that would feel like to men who are supposed to be protecting us, and then us to just be taken from them and killed and whatever, and then they're just left to be like, oh, I guess she was a witch. Like, I don't know what to do.
I mean, it's that gangbang culture of let's all rally against this woman. And it's so sad because, right now they just made this movie in India about acid throwing and how that is such a huge thing that still happens today in India, Pakistan, like men hating, like for example, this movie with an actress, Deepika Padukone, is about a true story about a 16-year-old girl who her family friend who was double her age kept on like making sexual advances at her. And she was like, no. And he bought acid and threw it on her whole body, scarring her face, her entire body so badly that, she couldn't even walk on the street without people like being afraid of her and ridiculing her. And, her life essentially was over. And she actually stood up and made like a law passed in India to stop selling acid in convenience stores with her scars and everything. You can look up, I think the movie is called Chapak. It just came out. But what a prime example of that witch archetype of someone who has been scolded as ugly, as unwanted, and her using her full power despite everything and actually creating such a global shift and movement. It's so brave. And I mean, we're seeing that rising and rising and rising. And I think that we just haven't really put together the words because we still think, like, oh, witch, well, that's evil. Yeah. And it's like, oh, no, this is actually a powerful witch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have Christian friends that are like, oh, but Mia, like, why do you call yourself a witch? Like, that's scary. Like, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with being wise. I'm actually like totally fine with that. I don't associate this label as like anything negative anymore. And like, I like wearing the pointy hat because it's a conversation starter and because it does, shake things up a little bit.
And I feel like when you wear it, you're in your truth, and you have to dress in the way that you feel inside, and you're brave enough to do that. So last year when visiting wedding venues in Hawaii, I completely lost my voice. And how was I going to plan my wedding with no voice? Luckily, I came across Beekeeper's Natural Propolis Throat Spray, and it literally saved my life. Made of high-quality bee propolis, which is nature's antibiotic, I was able to get my voice back in no time, which led me to discovering their other products like their hemp honey, brain fuel, and superfood cacao honey, which is amazing. I highly recommend their products to all the bee lovers out there as they're on a mission to improve people's health while saving the bees. Get 15% off your order at beekeepersnaturals.com/Sahara and use coupon code Sahara at checkout. Again, that is beekeepersnaturals.com/Sahara with coupon code Sahara at checkout. Has life been very full recently? I like to say full instead of stressful because it's saying that you're so full of opportunities and responsibilities and obligations rather than them being stressors. But the thing is, sometimes your body actually feels that stress and it can turn into anxiety, pain, and even inflammation. As we know, the mind and body are connected. And that's when natural plant medicines come in. And one that I am a huge fan of is CBD. So one of my really good friends, Angie Lee, who has been on the podcast before, actually started her own CBD company with her brother, Mike Lee, a world-renowned boxer, when he was looking for something to help deal with the pain and stress and muscular tension of being a professional athlete without the THC. So together they co-founded Soul CBD. Now, why I love this CBD and it's my absolute favorite is because they combine it with MCT oil, which as we know is really good for the body, good for the brain, hemp-derived CBD isolate, so no THC, no psychoactive effects at all. He's a professional athlete, and like they talk about in the podcast episode I did with them all about CBD, he couldn't have any THC CBD in his CBD because they do regular drug testings. And it is so delicious. I put a couple droplets. It just helps me go to sleep, helps me feel calm, helps with any muscular tension I have if I worked out too much or I pulled my back, and I absolutely love it. And they also have incredible CBD bath bombs, which are so beautiful. They make the best gifts ever, and they're all natural with essential oils as well. So if you want to get your hands on this incredible pure CBD experience, head over to mysoulcbd.com and use coupon code Sahara at checkout. Again, it's mysoul, SOULCBD.com, and use coupon code Sahara at checkout. And I think another thing, I did a podcast episode maybe 2 years ago called We Are the Witches That You Tried to Burn, and how so many of us are, especially when we were kids, we were intuitive and we were afraid of that magic and that wisdom, or we were told we were crazy or whatever else it is. And a lot of us were also very connected to the Salem witch trials. So I grew up in the Boston area, and since I was a kid, I was obsessed with Salem. Cool. Any chance I would go to Salem. I would go to the exact, grounds where they would be doing their pagan ceremonies, or even the courthouses. And they actually reenact the entire thing of it's super cool, especially if you guys need to go to Salem, Massachusetts during October, because Halloween is when it's
oh my God, can we go? It's a big girl group. Yes.
But basically, when you're on the streets, the Salem is entirely the same way that it was in the 1600s, brick cobblestone streets, etc. But so you'll be walking around, and then someone in an old medieval thing will take someone and be like, she's a witch, and just in the middle of the street they'll start and they'll be like, follow us, we're gonna take her to the courthouse, and then you can come and you sign up and participate in the courthouse. And you see how the whole thing happens. And this girl has no say. She's not asked, what did you do that makes you a witch? Just someone calling you a witch is enough.
Yeah.
And her whole family will go against her and be like, I don't know what's wrong with her. She was talking in tongues, kill her. And it's so sad. And I think so many of us feel a belonging to that time. I know I was for sure killed in the Salem witch trials. And that's why, when I was, in fourth grade, me and some of my friends really identified as being witches. And we would, in the playground, we would just go off into the corner and do different kind of ceremonies, to the four directions and just saluting. Cool. And,
oh my God, I wish we were friends at fourth grade.
Yeah. And I was very into it. I mean, but I was more kind of goth witch. I would only wear black but very connected to that archetype. We would get together at my friend's house, and she was actually Wiccan, and so was her mom. So
cool.
They would do full on spells that we would write down the name of the person we liked and put it into the jar and do these whole spells. But actually, I was in the school backyard, there was a big hill, and everyone, I had my 3 other witch friends, but everyone else was afraid of us and hated us. So as I was walking by them, they were
classic.
They were let's burn the witch at the stake. And this boy, he was wearing one of those, when you break your foot and it's a cast, but it's the hard cast that you could walk in. So he throws me down the hill and rolls after me. So his cast hits my head and I pass out. I have a concussion and I roll all the way down the hill as everyone's just laughing at me, burn the witch, kill the witch. And I wake up, I'm on the bottom of the hill. They're still laughing at me. And I literally just try not to cry. And I walk up to the principal's office. I'm I need to go home. And my teacher was well, she was practicing witchcraft and, so they separated me and the girls. We weren't allowed to talk in school anymore. It was my fault. And I think that this had to happen. I had to it wasn't to the extent that the girls in Salem had to go through this burning of the stake at myself. But actually, what it taught me was it's not safe. It's not safe for me to share these things. It's not safe for me to be as I am. I'll literally get hurt. I'll get killed. So after that, especially because I was separated and not allowed to talk to those girls, it made me put away my magic for a very, very long time. And now I can look back on that and see, and
oh my God, it's so heartbreaking. And that's what happens to all the little girls in some way, but that is intense.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us have had, whether it's that Josephine experience or not, but an experience that we wanted to, we were just being us.
Yeah.
We didn't even realize it's magic. We thought it's normal. For example, I would see ghosts all the time, and there was little boy Johnny who was stuck under the ice. And every single day we would be cracking that ice to let him free. Wow. And they were you see a human under the ice. They thought we were just so crazy, or I would see spirits in the trees, etc. And that experience made me shut off so much of that and be okay, let me just fit in. So Yeah, that's why I believe so many of us are coming back to that witch archetype, because it's been stripped from us.
Oh my goddess. I'm like, if we weren't on the podcast right now, I would just be like crying and holding you right now. Like, that was so beautiful. I can't believe that. And heartbreaking and just so tragic. And yeah, I mean, I have clients that have been locked up in mental institutions like multiple times because their gifts were so strong and so powerful. And they were so right about, prophetic dreams or like a creepy person in the family or something. And like, they were shamed and shut down and turned off, and they had to shut down their magic in order to be accepted. I mean, that story, that's one of the most really intense that I've ever heard. But yeah, I mean, for everyone listening, like, you can hear it with her and with Sahara, and we all have magic. We all have this deep wisdom, the connection to the earth, the capacity to utilize energy to create whatever we desire. That's all a spell is. It's just intention and focused attention and energy towards a desired outcome. And because you focus your attention and intention towards it, it's more likely to come true. It's so easy and so simple. And like when we talk about signs and like, or seeing ghosts, like that's just clairvoyance. Like it's literally, there's even just seeing angel numbers is clairvoyance. When you notice, oh, it's 1111 or oh, it's 333, that's just you having a clear sight that the universe is communicating with you and connecting with you and sending you messages. And yeah, I mean, that's what I'm here for, literally, is I hope to completely eradicate those experiences from happening, especially to children. Mm-hmm. Like, the legacy that I'm meant to leave on this planet is the real life Hogwarts, like a real magical school where anyone is welcome and you can learn the true depths of your power and who you really are as your highest self from day one, if you want. And yeah, that is my mission. That's what like all of my coaching is about. That's what all of everything that I do is about, just giving us permission to be magical, to like heal those wounds from when the little boy kicks you in the face and like knocks you out and it's not safe to be magic. But that's a thing with my hat too. Like, it isn't always safe. It's not safe for everybody. There are still witch burnings happen. The last witch burning in the United States happened in 1895, and the witch burnings and witch killings, I guess, like the murder of witches, is still happening in Africa right now, today, like in modern times. And it's really just a systematic genocide of indigenous wisdom. Because if we actually listened to indigenous wisdom, then our whole like capitalistic patriarchal society would ultimately crumble. And we would remember that like, oh yeah, we don't need any of this shit. We never did. We've survived on this planet for millions of years or whatever, like hundreds of thousands of years without needing stuff. We lived on the earth with the earth. Like, you go to a place like Hawaii, my house in Hawaii had like 17 different kinds of food just growing on it. Mm-hmm. And you could just pick it right there because that's where it comes from. And then you eat it and you don't have to go to the store or pay for anything because the earth just grows this food for you. Mm-hmm. And we've, systematized and monetized even that, even like the true nature of the earth, which is eternal creation and abundance. So yeah, I mean, it hasn't been safe to be magic, but that was one of the things, we were talking about Layla also. That is one of the codes that she gave to me a couple of years ago. And that is when I really started claiming the witch. She was like, Mia, it's safe to be magic now. And even if there are moments where it isn't, and even if little kids do sometimes cry when they see me wearing my hat, like, I am here. Part of my highest self is to embody safety in magic and to let everyone know that you can be safe to be magical as long as you choose to believe it. If we're all collectively creating this reality, then like, I am going to be a staunch stand for magic being safe in this world for children and adults, because we all are so worthy of it and so deserving of living in it.
So for those people listening out there who maybe feel disconnected from their magic, they want to be more intuitive. They're listening to this podcast this much, so there's obviously some kind of connection here with them and the witch. How can we connect further with the witch within?
Oh my goddess, there's so many things. I would say really start with what you love to do. So like the way that Sahara loves to dance, if dancing is your thing, see if you can move through in a dance, like being magical, or how would the witch dance? Like, what would that feel like? Or you can dance the pain of it, dance the unsafety of magic. Like, what does that feel like? Let yourself embody it, and then maybe it will move through. Like, maybe at the end of 5 or 10 minutes of dancing, you will feel inspired to let your magic be more safe. If you like to paint, if you are really like a nature girl like me, like, go and just connect with the earth, talk to a tree, and the biggest thing, I just did a ceremony with a client 2 days ago, and she was like, all I want to do is talk to the trees. I always felt like Pocahontas as a little girl. I always want to talk to the trees, but I'm so afraid of doing it wrong. Guess what? The biggest thing about talking to trees is you don't actually do any of the talking. You just listen. You just listen to the trees. That's what talking to the trees is listening, because they're so wise and they have so much information, and they just want us to listen to them because human beings used to listen and we don't anymore. So activating the inner witch, you can just stare into a crystal ball. You can practice scrying. I have like so many videos on my YouTube about like how to embody your different like witch energies. So practice using a crystal ball. Do a candle magic spell. That's super simple. You can carve a sigil or a magical symbol or even just words into a candle and put oils and herbs or pussy juice on it, like anoint it however you want, and then just light it and send your intention out into the universe. That's super simple. Practicing your psychic abilities, like really looking for signs in the universe, whether that's angel numbers or spirit animals, or like even when music plays, like, okay, what are the messages? What are the words of this song saying to you? That's like clairaudience. Meditation, being with the earth, like really you can like bury your feet in the earth and just practice sending your roots down. Just see what that would feel like. Wear something that makes you feel witchy. Gather with your friends like we do. That's like the best thing, is just to gather with your sisters and either set an intention, like maybe someone's father is ill and you just want to like send him loving and healing energy, or, someone's having a baby and you just want to bless them. And it's beyond just the baby shower. It's like, that's called the blessing way. Like we want to just create a moment of blessing. Just gather and have a specific intention or a general intention of like, we just want to feel our magic. And even if you just share with your friends, like, oh, like what you just shared with me, I've never even heard that story before, And even if you just share, this is an experience that I had that made me shut down my magic, and this is the magic that I always felt was real, or like, this is how I always really connected with my magic, or, make a little fairy house and like go and give an offering to the fairies. And the possibilities are endless. Yeah. But I think it's really, like I said, it just means wisdom. So it's about you. It's individual. Anything that you think you know about what a witch is, or like Googling what it means to be a witch or whatever, that's all bullshit. It's what it means for you to be connected to your own internal wisdom and the wisdom of nature and the universe in order to live as your highest self.
And I totally agree with everything you said. I think that a lot of people in our society, we are so used to the education system being like, if you want to do this, these are the rules. So even something like being a witch, we're like, okay, what are the rules? What are the exact spells, the exact things I have to do? And really, it's just you connecting to your intuition and you just vibrating in the way that you were meant to vibrate. So it's not like necessarily, okay, you got to do this spell on a Friday and on the 13th. And, like you can do all that stuff. Like we do spells, like, and it's fun, but it's not like what makes or breaks a witch. A witch doesn't have to do any of that.
Yeah. And one of the things, I have a video that's like signs you're a witch. And one of the signs that I love is just like, you love to do things with your hands. And that can be cooking, painting, pleasuring yourself, knitting, weaving, like anything, using clay, like digging in your garden in the earth. Like it's really just that when we're in the womb, our hands sprout out from our heart. And so our hands are just an extension of our love. So it's like whatever you love to do with your hands, like you can make that your witchcraft. Yeah, you can do spells and you can do potions and you can do, candle magic and all of that. That's all super fun. I love doing all the witchy things, but it's really like you can make anything in your life into a ritual. You can ceremonialize everything, even like the way, when Christine serves cacao, it's like we're just drinking a little cup of chocolate, you know, but it's like we make it intentional and we make it into a ritual. And that's all it takes to live in your wisdom, is just to live life more intentionally and ultimately more magically.
I love that so much. So do you have any, easy spells that people can do at home that you love? Like a good manifestation one, maybe?
Yes. Okay. So my favorite, like, easy manifestation spell, the first time I ever did it, I made $12,000 the next day. I was like, yes, this is great. So I used a red candle. You can use a green or gold candle. It really depends on, like, again, this is like, don't follow this is what I can't stand about like all the witchcraft books that are like you said, you have to say exactly this and it has to stand here. Like fuck all of that. Like, no. But you can use any color candle that represents abundance to you. If the yellow of joy and of the sun and of light is the candle that really feels abundant to you, then use that. Usually it is suggested to use green or gold candles for abundance spells, but I did this particular spell with a red candle because it was like power. It felt like power to me. I'm going to use a red candle. And so I just wrote like abundance, and you can write words, you can make symbols. Again, a sigil is a magical symbol. You can watch my YouTube video on that if you like learning about things like that. But you can create a symbol, words, whatever. Put it on the candle. Then rub the candle with any oil that makes you feel abundant. You can literally use like walnut oil because it's really good for your brain. It doesn't matter. You can use a specific essential oil. Maybe it's lavender, even though like that's calming, but you want the money to come to you really easily and gracefully. Or it's like roses and you really want it to just feel like so pleasurable and powerful and beautiful and like sensual. And so you use rose oil. Great. Then rub the candle. Once the candle, you want to run the energy up. So it's going up the candle instead of down, right? So you're just rubbing the energy, the oil up on the candle, and then put any herbs you want. Basil is a great classic herb that generally is in everyone's cabinet and has always been associated with prosperity. But again, do whatever feels right for you. Then I personally like to anoint the wicks of my candle with pussy juice. I have done that and had some of them like explode with like all these like fire and flames. I'm like, okay, that spell is working. Like, this is great. But you can do it with whatever you want. You can pinch a little bit of like, fresh frankincense. I harvest my own frankincense. Not everybody has that around, but do whatever you want. You can anoint the wick of the candle with anything, with moon blood, with amrita, with just like, like peanut butter if you want. Do whatever you want. But those are the kind of the main steps is you carve the candle, you anoint the candle with oil, you put herbs on the candle, and then you light it and you just sit in meditation. So you want to use a candle that is designed for spell work, which is usually like a 6-inch pillar that's going to burn for about 2 hours. And so you just sit with your spell. You sit with the candle. Yeah, like that takes time. And so you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. But that's part of showing the spell, like, here, I'm here with you and I'm setting my intention. I'm giving this my attention. And then your manifestation is sent out into the world. And in my experience, candle spells work almost every single time.
So good. And I think even just like that energy of staring into the fire and that flame, it ignites something inside of you.
Yeah. And so scrying is utilizing any like water, mirror, crystal surface. You can also fire scry. So as you're doing that, and especially if you put herbs on the candle, you'll notice like wild things happen with the smoke. And so if you just let your eyes, like the focus of your eyes, just relax, then you can see visions, or like really just like let yourself relax your focus and just see what the fire says to you. And there might be a message in there for you.
So beautiful. And one that I have done with our friend Cassandra is the honey pot jar.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff.
So that's a good one.
I still have that on my altar.
So the honey pot jar is a glass mason jar that you write down your intention for. In fact, the apartment that we're sitting in right now, I manifested with that spell. That was the first time that I did it. Yes. But I was at this place looking for a place for a month, and we were going to buy a place and it didn't work. And it was like so stressful.
Yeah, you were living at the hotel.
Yeah, like staying at different like random ass, like not even like balling out at the hotel. It was like 3 days at the Venice Beach motel and like here and there. It was not a luxurious time in my life. And I was like, when you're in a situation that you feel like desperate in, it's really easy to just succumb to whatever's like the easiest, fastest option because you don't want to be in that misery. And that's really when you're being tested to how bad do you want that thing. So Cassandra expanded my consciousness with that spell. So I, took some pieces of like images from magazines of like the home that I was really calling in, and I wrote it down. I wrote like how it feels and what it looks like. And I was like, it's by the ocean and I see dolphins and there's floor to ceiling windows and like literally where we are right now.
Yeah.
And then we put the honey in so it comes to us more sweetly and smoothly. And honey has that like kind of like slow but like moving energy. The lodestones, which are the magnetic crystals.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
The lodestones.
Yes. And then another kind of magnetic like sand type thing that you put in there. And then we burned the candle over it and set it by the altar and let the whole thing burn. The next day, things started to move for me.
Wow.
And then quickly this place manifested. So I did it again on New Year. So I love that one. I feel like we did this one together with the $1 bill, and you write, this is an abundance one. You write down, the amount or the thing, abundance related, you wrap it in $1, and then you take time, like the herb, and you kind of use that as your little bow. And you wrap it around the $1, which is also rolled around the thing. And then you can put it in any kind of soil, but I have a money tree. So I put it in the soil of my money tree.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that. I think actually I put mine in my money tree too. It's just been planted in my money tree.
I think on our Samhain night, that's when we did that. What we did.
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of spells that night.
Yeah, we did a lot of good spells that night. Yeah. See, that's what's so interesting is that like, I don't even do that many spells like that. Like I love that Cassandra has all of those spells that she does that are like specific things like that. And, for me, like a really good thing also that I forgot to mention on the candle spell and that you can do with any of these spells is writing just a simple spell itself. So you want it to be like either 2 lines that rhyme or 2 couplets. So like lines 1 and 2 rhyme and then lines 3 and 4 rhyme.
Why do spells always rhyme?
Because it just makes them feel easier.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's, as human beings, we're drawn to rhyme. And so it feels like if we're drawn to rhyme, then the creative energy must be drawn to rhyme because it's flow and because it's cadence and because I mean, I don't know, every witch book ever is always like, things are supposed to rhyme. And to me, at least, it just feels good. It feels like sing-songy. It feels poetic. And so I love making things rhyme.
Fairy enchantments too.
Exactly.
A lot of rhyming. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's a really fun thing to do also, is just like write a little spell and like let it be something that you sing to yourself as you're walking anywhere, like brushing your teeth, or like chant it to yourself in the morning while you're standing and just eye gazing in the mirror for 3 minutes and just like program your subconscious mind or your conscious mind with it. And yeah, I love that the honey jar spell worked for you so well. Yeah, because I think I did mine for my partner and then I met him like a month later.
It really works.
Oh my God, he found that picture that you told me to do. He found the drawing.
He's like, when did you draw me and everything about me? I'm like, before I met you.
I know. He's like, well, you actually said I'm supposed to be 10 years older. And I don't know, his eyes are a little feminine. I was like, okay, bro, relax. But anyways, that's super funny.
Exactly.
That spell worked.
Yeah.
Because my friends came over yesterday and they saw the picture of him and they're like, dude, this is him. Like, he looks exactly like this. So,
wow. Yeah. Same with Steven. Looks exactly like my picture. So many good spells. And we have so many mystical beings and stuff to talk about. So we'll save that for a Rose Gold Goddess workshop. Because I'm like, we need to talk about the fairies. We need to talk about the dragons. We need to talk about the mermaids. And then we need to talk about all the Celtic goddesses.
Oh yeah. We got a lot. There's so much magic.
Yes.
To be continued.
Yes. So thank you, Mia, so much for showing up, for sharing your magic, and for making it more accessible to people. And where can listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, Mia Magik, MIAMAGIK, and my YouTube is the same. So there's all kinds of free videos and content about just like stepping into your magic there. Yeah, I have a course called Manifest Your Magic right now, and really just like reach out if you're believing in magic and you just like want some support. I'm just here for all the permission and all the remembrance. And I really want to honor and acknowledge you for stepping into it and being such an incredible support for everyone living in their magic, and for being such a rose gold goddess yourself. And yeah, you guys, just so you know, I am so grateful to be friends with this woman. You push me to my edges and you make life so much more magical, and you give me permission to be my magical self. And I'm really, really grateful for you. I love you so much.
Love you too. I was just telling Kara, I was like, if I'm pushing Mia to her edges, that is saying a lot.
She does, you guys. She pushes me. She's like one of the only people that can really push me.
Edges? What? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Just a couple. Yeah. Getting naked in front of everyone at your birthday was an edge. It was good.
I feel like that was so natural.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was the highlight of my birthday for show. Especially with the dollar bills flying all around you.
That was great. I know. Love those.
I mean, that was a spell right there.
Totally.
Abundance.
Yeah.
Sacral chakra witch spell.
For sure. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think the last thing to leave everybody with is like,
everything's
you make
spell.
your spell whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Any kind of energy can create a spell. Anything. Magic is all around you all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being here.
Yes, Queen. Thank you. Love you.
I hope you are feeling magical after that episode. It definitely awakened my inner witch wound and how she has been suffocated. And I'm so glad, especially in the past couple months, the coven has been very active, and I've been gathering with my friends for Samhain and different rituals and manifestation and making fun spells and potions and activating that inner witch within. It feels so good and so healing and so freeing. So I encourage you to step into that, whatever it feels like to you, as Mia discussed. It could be you making a beautiful tonic with herbs. It could be you dancing freely. It could be you talking to the trees, sitting in nature. Feel what feels right to you. Magic speaks to us in different ways, and we all have different codes inside of us to access truth. So try out different things, see where you feel most alive, and harness that. Continue to dive deep into that and see where it takes you. So check out Mia's YouTube channel, her Instagram at Mia Magik. She's a beautiful soul. And Mia will also be a featured guest in Rose Gold Goddesses, my sacred sisterhood collective, all about embodying the goddess within. So we have bi-weekly workshops hosted by many expert higher self podcast guests like Mia, diving deep into their work, picking their brain, asking them questions in a way that they don't normally do at all for the public. So you'll really be able to learn so much about all these spiritual topics that we talk about in Highest Self Podcast in a deeper way. My masterclasses are in there: Awaken Your Powers, Sex, Money, Magic, Discover Your Dharma, so much more. Every single month, we have a different goddess theme that we dive into with a live monthly webinar with me. So embodying your Dharma and your courage with Durga, embodying your sacred sensuality with Lalita Sundari, stepping into ease and flow with Yamaya, embodying your creativity with Saraswati, reprogramming your money mindset beliefs and adopting an abundance mindset with Lakshmi, and so much more. So all of that, plus a community of 2,000 amazing, incredible spiritual sisters who are there with you to support you on every part of this journey. We are reprogramming that sisterhood wound. We are bringing women together. We have monthly live meetups happening in different cities. We have incredible topics on all things to discuss, from potions and spells to Ayurveda to shamanism to past lives, everything in between. We have so many members who are facilitating their own goddess circles, who are talking about these podcast episodes in a deeper way. So if you are on a spiritual journey, this membership is for you. So you can learn more about it at rosegoldgoddesses.com. Again, that is Rose Gold Goddesses, and I look so forward to seeing you there. If you loved this episode, I would love if you could leave me a review in the iTunes store. And as a free gift, I will share with you the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Simply email a screenshot of your review over to Sahara at eatfeelfresh.com. Again, Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you over the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Thank you and namaste.